If this video found you, it's because on some level, you're ready. You may not feel ready. You might still be caught in the rhythm of your days, going through the motions, scrolling, reacting, drifting from one moment to the next. But there's something in you, a small voice that you can barely hear, that's been trying to get your attention. It's been whispering between the noise, asking if this is really it, asking if life is supposed to feel like this, rushed, fragmented, and somehow both too much and not enough at the same time. I'm not here to give you some perfect, polished version of motivation. I'm not here to tell you that every answer is simple or that your journey is supposed to be clean and pretty. Life is messy. People are messy, and you're not failing just because you feel lost in that mess. Sometimes feeling lost is the first sign that you've outgrown the place you've been living in. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Maybe lately you've been waking up and feeling this strange heaviness, even on days where nothing is technically wrong. You go through the motions and it's fine on the outside. You smile when you're supposed to. You do what's expected. But inside, there's this quiet ache, like you've been missing something you can't even name. That's not weakness. That's awareness. That's the first crack in the surface where the truth can finally get in. The truth is, most people live their entire lives never questioning the invisible patterns they're caught in. They wake up, work, consume, rest, and repeat, thinking that's just how it is. But every so often, something breaks through. A conversation, a moment, even a piece of content like this, and you realize that the way you've been living was never the only way. That maybe you've been running on autopilot for so long that you've forgotten you can take the wheel. It's not your fault if you've been feeling disconnected. The world is loud. Every second, there's something pulling at your attention, telling you where to look, how to feel, what to care about. It's exhausting. You've been taught to measure your worth in numbers. Likes, views, followers, productivity hours, paychecks. But those numbers were never designed to reflect the real you. And deep down, you know it. The reason you've been feeling this quiet pull towards something more is because the life you were taught to want doesn't fully fit you anymore. It's like wearing clothes that looked fine in the store, but somehow never feel comfortable once you're home. They pinch in the wrong places. They limit your movement. And after a while, you stop trying to make them work because you realize it's not you that's the problem. It's the fit. This is the moment where most people back away. They feel the discomfort of outgrowing a life they've known, but the unknown feels scarier than staying the same. Change isn't something we naturally run toward. It's something we're often dragged into, piece by piece, until we have no choice but to stand in it fully. But what if, instead of waiting until life forces your hand, you chose to listen now? You don't have to have every answer. You don't have to know exactly where you're going. All you need to do is become curious enough to step off the track you've been on, even if it's just for a moment, and ask, what would my life look like if I was truly alive in it? What would change if I stopped living on autopilot and started noticing the small, quiet details that actually make me feel human? Because here's the thing, change doesn't start with giant leaps. It starts with noticing the way your chest tightens when you agree to something you don't want to do. Noticing how different your energy feels after you've spent time with certain people. Noticing the little sparks of joy or peace that show up when you least expect them. Those moments are not random. They are clues, and if you follow them, they start to form a map toward a life that actually fits you. But the first step, always, is presence. Right here, right now. Not 5 years from now. Not after you've fixed yourself. Just here. Because so many of us keep waiting until we're perfect to start living. We tell ourselves, once I feel confident, once I feel ready, once I have everything figured out, then I'll finally show up. But life doesn't wait for you to feel ready. And that's the beauty of it. You don't have to be ready. You just have to be here. I'm not going to pretend that waking up from the patterns you've been living in is comfortable. It's not. In fact, it can be deeply unsettling. You start to see the gap between the life you've been tolerating and the life you actually want, and that gap can feel overwhelming. But it's also your invitation. It's proof that you're capable of more. Maybe you've been holding back parts of yourself because you were afraid they wouldn't be accepted. Maybe you've been saying yes to things you don't believe in because it felt safer than saying no. Maybe you've been dimming your own light just so you wouldn't make anyone else uncomfortable. And maybe you've been carrying the quiet hope that one day something would happen to give you permission to finally be yourself. If you've been waiting for that permission, this is it. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to prove yourself worthy of it. You just need to decide that your life matters enough to you to live it in a way that's honest. And honest doesn't mean perfect. Honest means human. Honest means sometimes messy, sometimes uncertain, sometimes scared, but still showing up anyway. And here's the truth that no one tells you. The moment you start living in alignment with what's real for you, even in the smallest ways, the world shifts. You start attracting people who meet you where you actually are, not where you're pretending to be. You start noticing opportunities you were too distracted to see before. You start realizing that you were never really stuck. You were just standing in a room with the door wide open, thinking it was locked. It's not about building a life that looks good on paper. It's about building a life that feels right in your bones. And the first step to doing that is to stop running from the discomfort of change and start letting it guide you, because discomfort is just the space between who you were and who you're becoming. And that space, as uncomfortable as it is where the real transformation happens. You're not broken for feeling this way. You're waking up, you're starting to notice the cracks in the version of reality you were handed. And through those cracks, light is coming in. And that light, it's not just there to illuminate what's wrong. It's there to remind you of what's possible. So take a deep breath. Let yourself feel exactly where you are right now. Not where you think you should be, not where you were yesterday. Just here. This is the starting point. And from here, anything is possible. You might not realize it yet, but right now you are carrying the raw material for a completely different life. Every memory, every lesson, every mistake, every small moment where you chose courage over comfort, it's all here inside you. And if you pause long enough to actually feel it, you'll see that nothing you've been through was wasted. Even the moments that hurt you the most have left you with a deeper understanding of yourself, and that understanding is priceless. But the truth is, we rarely stop to take inventory of what we already have. We're so used to chasing the next thing, the next goal, the next distraction, that we overlook the quiet power we're already holding. We forget that we've survived things we thought would break us. We forget that we've made it through days we thought would never end. We forget that strength isn't something you find out there. It's something you build, piece by piece, in the middle of the storm. And maybe that's why you're hearing this right now, because something in you is ready to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start living in the one you already have. There will always be reasons to delay. There will always be fears that try to keep you where you are. But fear is not the enemy. Fear is just an invitation to step into something bigger. If you really think about it, most of the moments that changed your life weren't the ones you planned. They were the unexpected conversations, the risks you didn't think you were ready for, the times you acted before you could talk yourself out of it. Change doesn't wait for permission. It knocks once, and if you open the door, it will carry you further than you ever thought you could go. You don't have to rebuild everything overnight. You don't have to flip your entire world upside down in one dramatic gesture. Sometimes the most powerful change is quiet. Sometimes it's as simple as choosing to speak your truth in a conversation where you'd normally stay silent. Sometimes it's saying no to something that drains you. Sometimes it's giving yourself an hour of your own attention instead of pouring it into everyone else. These small moments matter. They are proof to yourself that you are willing to live differently. And every time you choose differently, you create a ripple that reaches further than you can see. People who don't understand this shift in you. People who prefer the version of you that kept your head down, that didn't ask for more, that didn't disturb the patterns they were comfortable in. That's okay. Your life is not meant to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. The people who are meant to walk with you will rise to meet the version of you that's more alive. The hardest part is that you will sometimes have to let go of things or people that you thought would be with you forever. It's not because you failed. It's because you're growing, and growth will always change the landscape of your life.